rule is, for those of us who know that there is an issue, there is more than an issue. It is a systemic design that results in social injustices, social inequalities, that Black folk, African American folk, however you identify yourself, and also low income areas in this country take the blunt force of the injustices, the police misconduct, police brutality, and in many cases, it truly can be classified as police terrorism. There's a problem in this country. We know this. I've even spoke to the director of post, peace officers standards and training, which is the certification for here in Georgia, certification for officers in order to be able to arrest. And he has expressed concern in the policies and procedures. Listen, something needs to be done. So I just been moved this morning because a person like myself and many others have been on the front line of this issue, been on the front line in reforming the grand jury process across this nation. You name it, we've done it. Now we have a unique opportunity here. We have a unique opportunity here as it relates to this NFL blackout, this NFL boycott. We have a unique opportunity here because players just submitted a memo to Roger Goodell, the commissioner. And I'm no big fan of Goodell at all, but strategically, Roger Goodell's background mixed with what I'm about to express to you, I really believe, ladies and gentlemen, we got the opportunity to make change happen in police reform. There'll be many that will say you can't reform the police. And I understand the position of those. For those who don't know the history of the police come from patty rollers. Patty rollers were the individuals that were given the authority on slave plantations to go and capture the runaway slaves, to go and discipline and cause punitive damage to the runaway slaves and also those that assisted them. They birthed the police department. We don't have time to get into that, but please do your research if you don't believe me. I'll just leave you with one hint. To this day, police departments still bear the names of equipment that paddy rollers use. Hence, paddy wagons carry paddy rollers, or paddy wagons used to carry paddy rollers. So they still hang on to the verbiage of those days, which shows you the connectivity. But listen, this letter or this memo sent to Commissioner Goodell, it highlights that the players would like for the month of November to be an awareness month, very similar to the pseudo breast cancer awareness month that takes place in October. And my pseudo comment comes from most of the proceeds do not go to cancer research. It's a whole nother issue, but just want to make that clear. But the month of November is what these players are suggesting. And they're also suggesting that the league get behind this initiative dealing as it relates monetarily as well, setting up programs. Listen, you guys, man, I've been in a lot of initiatives, and some of the initiatives last a week, some of them last 2-3 years, some of them last longer. Dr. King said it best. We're on a short time frame when it comes to our anger and our activism and our action a lot of times. I don't know how to say this any other way. We got to continue with this initiative. We got to continue with the blackout. It's working. No matter what the media might tell you, it is working. No matter what the media might tell you in relationship to why the numbers are down, the lowest since 2009, it's working. We have individuals that are stepping up to the plate. Big shout out to Jay-Z for his activism on turning down being the headliner of this year's Super Bowl or this season's Super Bowl. That's big. I know they'll probably find somebody out there that really, really wants that check. But it speaks volumes to what Brother Jay-Z has recently done. All of you who are out there blacking out the television, all of you who are not going to the games, man, listen, salute to that. I can tell you this, there's nobody, and I mean nobody, who loves this game more than I. Might be some equal to, but that's a small percentage. Man, I eat, sleep, breathe, love this game. Grew up playing this game. This game, even though it's a game, it's so much more. It teaches young kids. I coach this game. Camaraderie, teamwork, hard work. Listen, man, I love this game, but I love our people much more. I love the equality of humans much more. This is a human right issue all day long. So I just feel the need to express to those who aren't doing it, man. Why not? Especially people of color. I just express to you guys, I mean, imagine those of you that have children. Imagine when your children go to school and this is caught national news and national attention. What are your children able to express, or how do they feel when their father just took them to an NFL game and has not even explained to them, that's the key, has not even explained to them what's going on, has not even explained to them why these games are being picketed, have not even explained to them why Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job to this day. I mean, man, listen, a lot of times I talk so direct. People that have been through a lot, that have seen a lot, that can stomach a lot, sometimes they can seem insensitive, but it's not that. We just don't have time to play around. I have a 22-year-old son and an 11-year-old son. I want both of them to be able to say that Pop was on the right side of history. Not just the right side of history, that he fought to make that happen. Really think about that, man. How are you going to feel when your child becomes of age and say, Pop, Moms, what were you doing during 2017 when the momentum had begun on putting the pressure on this league in the name of righteousness, in the form of social justice? It's so much I got to say, and I know long videos don't get a lot of play, but I just want to take a minute and express to you what the main strategy is. So, we've got this list. I'll post it as well. All right. This is a boycott of these particular companies who are NFL sponsors. Anheuser-Busch, Barclay USA, Bose, Bridgestone, Campbell's Soup Company, Castrol, Courtyard Marriott, Dairy Management Inc., Dannon, Extreme Network, FedEx, Frito-Lay, Gatorade, Hyundai Motors America, Lenovo Computers, Mars Snack Food, McDonald's, Microsoft, Nationwide, News America, Nike, Papa John's, of course, Pepsi, Procter & Gamble, Quaker, Sirius, TD Ameritrade, Ticketmaster, Verizon, Visa, Under Armour Coaches, Little League, USAA, and Xbox. If you can't find it in your spirit to stop spending your dollars with those companies. And they're broad, so it's going to take a little bit of effort. But if you ain't willing to put forth a little bit of effort for a short amount of time for the longevity and the salvation as it relates to reforming these police departments, as it relates to indirectly or directly preventing your child from being slain by law enforcement, being the judge, jury, and executioner when they're pulled over on the side of the road once they reach age. You think just because your child is under the driving limit that he won't come or she won't come in contact with a rogue officer? Please. And this is say for people of color. You know, there's an old saying for white folks who were low income, the hirelings. You're mentioned in that third stanza of the so-called national anthem, along with the slave. This happens in your community all the time. Trailer parks are spread wide throughout this country. And trailer parks predominantly have Caucasian individuals, hirelings, as this country so eloquently labeled you. This is for you too. So listen. Man, this video, listen, times are too serious. NFL players who are currently playing, we understand that there has not been a strike by the players. But you know what is going on? The continuation of what Brother Kaepernick started. Salute to them brothers, man. Marshawn Lynch and Bennett, plenty others. For continuing this thing, man. Salute to those that they may not necessarily kneel or sit, but they are even getting up and placing their hands on the shoulder pads of those who are doing it. Brothers and sisters, Cam, Barry, dare I say Pac-Man, folks that came from right where I came from, Westlake High School. Barry didn't come from Westlake, but South Fulton. Plenty of other players, man. We reaching out to you, man. How can you stand there and watch another teammate or the opposing team screw the Atlanta Falcons here in this city? Not one of them have really stood up and just been a agent for change when it comes to this epidemic going on. I'm not here to name call, but that wouldn't be true, man. The time is now to call folks out, man. It's too serious. So, after that little rant and rave, let's get down to business. Let me explain to you the strategy. I gave you the list of companies to boycott. But now let me explain to you how we can strategically use Roger Goodell and his background along with this momentum. Roger Goodell's background is law, an attorney. I am suggesting that you understand that recently by Forbes magazine, each NFL team as a company has been assessed at being worth $3.2 billion with a B dollars. $3.2 billion. There are 32 NFL teams, 31 in which are owned by older white men. $102.4 billion is what the NFL is collectively worth. $102.4 billion. Once the NFL adopts an initiative, that 102.4 come with it. Now, to those of you that only deal with numbers, for those of you that understand the saying, men lie, women lie, numbers don't, that is some serious negotiating equity there. I am suggesting that churches all across this country develop or initiate a town hall around this blackout and boycott. Hear from your members on what their position is, and then follow suit. I'm suggesting that all civil rights organizations, the HEAD, National Action Network, Southern Christian Leadership, NAACP, Urban League, every other alphabet that exists, every other acronym that exists out there. And I'm not just talking about them, because the grassroots movement has already started. We're already in the streets. This individual is happening. But there's an old saying, when you put that thing together, man, listen, here's what I'm suggesting. I want you to understand, I feel like that we have a strategic target that we aren't putting in our crosshairs. And it's the insurance companies. It's the insurance companies that are losing, and the citizens with their tax dollars are losing hundreds of millions of dollars. I want you to understand this. A lot of times we scream no justice because we're not receiving criminal charges along with the correct criminal sentences. But in that courtroom, in that civil room, that civil lawsuit, families are being rewarded, and rewarded I use extremely lightly. I'll give you an example of what I mean. My notion, my position is we go after the insurance companies that insure these police departments, that insure these cities, that insure these counties. We go after the insurance companies that are the ones that are coughing out the millions of dollars. And it just makes fiscal sense. Insurance companies, rogue officers are causing your company to be depleted in funds. Why would you not want to sit down with lawmakers, community leaders, individuals that are over the certification of police officers across this nation, and revise policies and procedures? I'm not going to use this video to get into the specifics, but I can tell you a couple more strenuous psych evaluations, especially as it relates to those who have served in the military that are returning from war zones. Constant or periodic checks that would make sure one's mind is concentration in training on mental health. Those of us on the front lines know a lot of shootings happen in the form of cases with mental health. Take the gay Georgia Tech honor student engineer major by the nickname of Scout that just was murdered by the police here, who so happened to be president of the Pride of the LGBTQ chapter at Georgia Tech. See, this police misconduct transcends all boundaries. So it behooves all of us to collectively get on board. Let me give you an example. This is the amount by just a few cities that have paid out money as far as the insurance companies are concerned. Giving you proof to the method of my madness. Boston, $36 million between the years 2005 and 2015. That's enough money for Boston to cover the cost of large-scale renovations to a local high school athletic complex 2 times over. Chicago, $521 million between 2000 and 2014. That's enough money for Chicago to cover the entire cost of new state-of-the-art research hospital being built downtown. Cleveland, $8.2 million between 2000 and 2014. That's enough money for Cleveland to pay almost its entire share of the cost to build a new YMCA facility downtown. Dallas, $6.6 million between 2011 and 2014. That's enough money for Dallas to have more than doubled its police community outreach budget for each year between 2011 and 2014. Denver, $12 million since 2011. That's enough money for Denver to completely cover and even expand upon a recently announced $10 million affordable housing loan program. Do you get where I'm going with this? Monies could be used in such a much better fashion and an upliftment to the community and the society fashion. Los Angeles, $101 million since between 2002 and 2011. That's enough money for LA to match the entire amount it pays each year to cope with homelessness. Minneapolis, $9.3 million, 2011 to 2014. That's enough money for Minneapolis to fund its police body cam program more than 8 times over. New York, surprisingly, $348 million between 2006 and 2011. NYC, that's enough money for you to pay for the construction of more than 7 brand new schools. Oakland, which is the hat I bear. I'll get into some of the families that I've been able to personally help or personally come in contact with and personally have relationships with. Like, what's up, Uncle Bobby and Beachy, family of Oscar Grant down there in Oaktown, which is part of the reason why I wear this hat. Oakland, $74 million between 1990 and 2014. Oakland, that's enough money for you to have invested extra funds each year in pioneering behavioral health programs in the city schools. Philadelphia, $40 million between 2009 and 14. That's enough money for Philly to fund a new center to teach career skills to high school students more than 6 times over. Listen, that's just some of the examples. So I am advocating for the NFL to collectively, to the owners to collectively force the hands of the insurance company to tighten up their budgets. If you don't want to do it for the bloodshed or the black and brown and low income bodies, then do it for the money. Do it for the fact that it's just fiscally responsible. NFL ownership, you have that power. $102.4 billion sure has that power. The fact that the league is over 70%, the players make up over 70%. I think that gives us a hell of a negotiating stance. But let's be clear. We're 70% of the employees and 0% of the ownership. Somebody talked about that the league needed diversity, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it was one of them conservative talk show hosts. Yeah, it needs diversity on the ownership level. Listen, man, I applaud the brothers that are keeping it moving. The brothers that ain't, shame on you, man. And history will show. Your children will prove it to you, or your grandchildren, if you're around that long, will ask you one day, what were you doing when you had such an integral part? So in closing, I just want to encourage, man, us to keep the movement moving, man. It's working. Yes. I was quoted by telling folks who don't support this to shut up. Let me clarify that. If you got good ideas, how about taking those ideas and coming to someone that you know is plugged in, instead of going public and just denouncing this movement, because it's not a moment. You would be better served in your mission, because some of us, most of us, we want the same thing. We want to be able to live a good life, raise our families. We want to make sure that our children, don't experience some of the ills that we did. Part of them they will. That's just a part of life. But when it comes to the difference of a white kid in Buckhead, being pulled over versus my child. We need to do everything we possibly can to curb that. I don't care what your ideology is. I don't care if you like me or don't like me. I think we have that as a common denominator. Keep the movement moving, man. It's working. Pastors, imams, faith leaders. If you're not discussing this in your places of worship, man, then what are you here for? The Black Caucus legislators. We got the largest Black Caucus here in Georgia. Man, where's your position on this? This is simple. It's simple to ride with Cap. I can say I'm down with Kaepernick because Kaepernick's issue is righteous. Even the past administration has shown through investigations of various departments, Chicago, Ferguson, Baltimore, that crime is running rampant. We keep talking about this. Oh, it's just a handful of bad cops. No, it ain't. Because if you are a so-called good officer and you have not crossed that cold blue line of silence, if you have not done what is necessary to expose the officers that are diluting your profession, madam, your profession, sir, then how are you labeled good? There are many of you that have stepped forward, but not enough. There were some officers that stood with Kaepernick, I believe out in New York, raised their fist, put on their black shirts. And it was cute. Some of it, I believe, was sincere. But as you raise your fist, officers of the NYC, how about raising your consciousness as well and take your behind into eternal affairs and let it be known about the atrocities that are running rampant? What was it, 348 million paid out in your city? The time is now, man. I still am in contact with a number of families. And before I go, just for those who don't know me, I want you to understand some of the work that I put in. Having been lead organizer or a part of the organizing hub for a number of families across the country, I still talk to the mothers and fathers of these slain children. Not even just talk, man. I mean, sometimes, after the cameras are gone, after the charges have either been dropped or the officers have won their court cases and are fully exonerated, these families are still stuck, man, and they're looking for someone to blame. And they don't just blame the system a lot of times, believe me. Ariston Waiters, 19-year-old that was gunned down, one hand cuffed behind his back, put face down on the pavement here in Union City, Georgia, shot twice. First shot through the back, first shot severing his spine, rendering him paralyzed instantly. Second shot ultimately killing him. Marlon Brown out in D-Land, Florida, a brother that was literally mowed down, ran over intentionally by a police cruiser and smashed for hours up under the cruiser in a vegetable garden. Death ruled mechanical asphyxiation. These things exist. Chavis Carter out in Jonesboro, Arkansas, a young man that was searched, cuffed, detained, arrested, and arrived at the police station with a shotgun wound to the chest as his hands still remain cuffed. Case ruled a suicide. Said he had a pistol and shot his own self in the chest. And there's even a video demonstration, simulation of how this actually occurred. Andrew Joseph III, Tampa, Florida, young teenager. Incident happened at a town fair and was kicked out of the town fair along with some other teens by law enforcement. 14, if I'm not mistaken. left out on his own and ended up trying to cross a expressway, getting hit by multiple vehicles. See, a lot of this is not the police actually pulling the trigger. A lot of it is. But it's not just that. It's the handling of our loved ones that are either causing them bodily harm or death, or are causing botched investigations that are preventing their true killers or true assailants to face justice, leaving families in limbo. Oscar Grant, I spoke on that. They got a movie, Fruitvale Station. Check that out. Shot once behind the back senselessly. The killer cop is currently out, served a couple of months. Kendrick Johnson down in Valdosta, Georgia. Everybody knows I got a special place for that particular tragedy in my heart. A young man found rolled up in a wrestling mat in a gymnasium. That case just has police misconduct just running rampant through it. Baby Boo Boo, a case that went international. A 19-month-old Laotian and white toddler that was a victim of a botched no-knock drug raid. The hashtag war on drugs is really hashtag war